The opinions expressed on Plastic Fantastic are intended for educational and informational purposes only and are not meant as a diagnosis, treatment, or substitute for professional medical advice. The mention of any product, treatment, or procedure on the show does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation and is purely for the information and education of the public.
Welcome to Plastic Fantastic, a weekly show dedicated to the latest in plastic surgery, aesthetics, beauty, and wellness. Now, here are your hosts, board-certified surgeons Dr. Robert Silich and Dr. Olivia Hutchinson.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Good morrow.
Dr. Silich.
Dr. Hutchinson. Welcome to Plastic Fantastic, listener.
And listeners far and wide.
Welcome
back again.
Brought to you by His Majesty's Internet and the good folks at the Royal Academy of Art.
Service.
I don't know.
There's got to be something secret.
About
us, about our existence.
Totally. Like how we keep this going every week.
Things that nobody knows about. The deep, dark furrows.
In case you're keeping track, this is part 2 of the list show.
Many lists, so many lists.
We got on so many tangents. I was fading out
lists and lists upon lists
into a stupor.
Well, FIFA's going on right now, the World Cup.
That's why I was fading out.
It's been going on for a while.
It's exciting, isn't it?
Lots of distractions. I saw a funny cartoon actually about, I think it was a New Yorker cartoon where there's a couple on a couch and the guy's all decked out in American flags and paraphernalia and watching the World Cup, and the wife says something like, "This is your first match that you've ever seen, like, and now you're a fan all of a sudden."
Yeah,
you know?
it is true. I mean, you get into
Everybody's a fan.
Yeah, but that's a good thing, though. I think it's more so with this than with the Olympics.
Well, it has a higher viewership, apparently.
Yeah.
It's nice to see people getting along, I guess, on the football pitch, as they like to say.
Yeah, it looks a little bit heated, though, lately, huh?
Yeah, they get along part of the time, but not all the time. I mean, we saw the U.S.-Iran match. That was expected to be a little bit aggressive, shall we say?
Yeah, mixed feelings about that one. You know, I felt badly for some of those players, to be honest. I think they're in a bad spot, those guys.
Well, lots of horrible things going on in the world. So only deal with what we can manage at any given time. And right now we're managing our lists.
All right, so what are we doing next? Top 5 Keanu Reeves movies. How's that?
You can go 1 through 5 on that.
Come on.
The Replacements.
Great one. Yes. Olivia.
You're welcome.
God bless you. That's number 5. How did you know that?
That's my one and only.
Quick synopsis. Keanu Reeves plays the backup walk-on quarterback for the I guess it would have been the Redskins, now it would be the Commanders, for the Washington, D.C. football team, the Commanders.
I didn't even know that.
Yes,
I thought it was just the Washington football team.
No, they finally decided on Commanders, but that's great. Great soundtrack, by the way. All the Rolling Stones.
1 second.
Commanders, it's so bad, I know. And friends of mine that live in D.C.
Maybe I'm not woke, but really?
Like the jokes of we're going commando, I mean, the whole thing is like...
But I thought you can't even say like master bedroom, but now you can say commander.
Commander, I know. And if anybody reads the Margaret Atwood books or watches The Handmaid's Tale, a commander is a very negative, connotated character. They're all commanders, the bad guys.
Holy
Anyway, so yes, number 5, The Replacements. Number 4.
Go ahead, Matrix.
I'll give you The Matrix. All right, let's give that the original Matrix.
You know, it's on my list of things to do.
I'm going to give you that. Number 3, John Wick Part 3. Okay. Great movie. Fantastic.
1 second. Let's just go back to The Replacements, because you said it's all Rolling Stones. The
soundtrack is like almost all which is rare because they don't do that often, and it's a Rolling Stones heavy.
But it's not new
soundtrack.
Rolling Stones songs.
No,
it's all things that we would
I think
recognize.
You would know it. Yeah.
Right, okay.
It was very cool.
But they didn't write new music just for that movie, is my question.
But they must have made some kind of deal, because the vast majority of music in it is by the Stones,
and
which is rare.
And you've seen them in concert, right?
Oh, too many times to tell.
Okay. Anyway, I just wanted to make sure that
got it.
We
number
gave
4, you said was The Matrix.
Yes.
Which is
then you said John Wick.
John Wick number 3. Number 2, John Wick number 2. And for number 1, John Wick number 1. That's it. I think he peaked. I got to tell you, I think he peaked with John Wick's. I think he's so cool in that.
Were those the most recent ones too?
Yeah, there's a John Wick 4 that they're making now. No, I don't think. Of course, I don't think anyone. Please,
how dare
I don't think anybody thought Reeves was going to have a second whole career, and he has just like blown up.
I have to say, I am not a huge Keanu Reeves fan, but everyone's entitled.
How could you not be?
Do you know
how hard it was for me to make that list?
Very easy, apparently, because you said John
Private
Wick
Idaho,
1, 2, 3.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. He's in Dangerous Liaisons, which is probably his worst performance ever.
I think because that's a great
that
movie.
Turned you off.
And
I don't blame you. Because he's like Bill and Ted in 18th century France.
It's bad. You should probably find something that you're really good at and that you're, to use my favorite word, passionate about, and then stick with it. So I think
stay in your lane. Stay in your swim lane, right?
Well, I always say think outside the box. So I don't think you need to stay in your lane.
There you go again.
But if you're going to pass, make sure you check your blind spot.
Mixed metaphors with you. I can't figure it out. If you're going to stay in your lane, pick your blind spot. Is that what you said?
No, I said if you're going to change lanes, you need to check your blind spot.
That's really, this whole thing is really good. Why don't we just do the whole show in metaphors? Yeah.
So, now the pressure's on. I'm not going to be able to come up with
pretty good. All right, so there's Keanu Reeves. That's great. What are the lists do you have? Movies. Top movies? Well, we have to exclude The Godfathers when we do that, right?
Well, movies.
They're like retired.
There's
They're in the
so
Hall
many
of Fame.
movies. We did do a show, I think, many years ago.
We did do the movie show, Welcome to Hollywood. We've run out of material. I keep telling you this every week, and you're like, no, we got to do a show.
Always more material. You can do foreign movies.
Oh, great. You could speak for 3 hours. I'll sit back here and watch the telly.
No, because you know about those Japanese movies that I haven't seen. How about
I got a good
Netflix?
one for you. So I've got this friend who does interviews at her big company.
Interviews for onboarding, or finding people
to
finding
hire? People. Okay. Check this question out. How would you handle this?
That's the question?
Cookie, cake, or pie, and why?
Okay.
That's a pretty good one, right?
Yeah.
And kids are looking at her like, what? Well, what's yours? Of those three, cookie, cake, or pie?
Cake.
Interesting. Why? Isn't it kind of a big cookie?
No. So cookies tend to be drier and you're more limited in your options.
Got it.
Pies, I don't like the crust. So that's an easy out. You know how you remove the first one and then you're down to 2? And
this is why you did so well in school.
Do I get to work at her company or you get to tell us what her company?
I think you've got the job.
Cakes, not only do you have variety, which by the way, let me just tie this into plastic surgery.
Here comes the tangent.
Here comes the connection to plastic surgery. The reason that I find plastic surgery so interesting is because there's such a breadth of opportunities in terms of the different types of surgeries that you do, and you have to be creative, etc. So I think that...
And you find that with cakes.
And I'm a big chocolate person, as you know, dark chocolate, and so cakes sort of give you the most of a good thing, which is fantastic.
That was quite an answer. Chocolate. Very good.
How about you, Dr. Silich?
I pick pie, interestingly enough, because I think you get more variety with pie. I like crust. Quote under picture.
Not crusty. Not crusty.
I like the crust. Unlike you don't like it. There's a variety of fillings. It could also be savory. And I'm a big savory guy.
That's true.
Right?
Yes. That's true. You can do other things.
Cookie seems to be wasted calories, I think. And a cake is
also
a little light for me, man.
Okay. Well, that's why.
So there you have it.
That's why we compliment
Isn't that a good one?
Each other.
That's I think that's a very cool, So remember that the next time that your kids are interviewing.
It also implies that everybody likes some kind of dessert, right? I could start my meals with dessert, actually. I'm such a big sugar person. Yes.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that is a very Canadian and British thing.
Stop.
I'm serious.
There is no Brit in me whatsoever.
There's Brit in Canada by definition, whether you know it or not, it's there. Coursing through your Romani veins.
Kind of thing that has come through.
It happens. Okay. Just like I think in every American, there's
How did we get on this topic?
British in them.
We were talking about movies.
We're doing lists. Cake pie, or I don't know. I thought it was kind of funny. All right, I have another one. I guess it's kind of like lists, but we figured the lists go too long. If you had to listen to one record, Desert Island Disc, that's a popular show on the BBC.
BBC America? Because
no,
BBC
radio.
Oh.
If you had to take one album that you had to bring with you, you're stranded on a desert island, what's it going to be?
Beethoven.
Really? Christ, that's a little heavy, isn't it?
Oh, but it's just so fantastic.
He starts out great. I think he loses a little bit in the end, except for the Ninth Symphony, where I think he gains it in the end.
The Ninth is pretty awesome. I don't know. I think that I would probably get tired of some of the pop music, although I really like OMD. And
can't be a greatest hits album, by the way. That's cheating. Because I agree. If I could cheating this question. Yeah, you're right, because OMD is magnificent, but there's such a catalog there. You'd probably want their greatest hits album, but that's cheating. So it's got to be one album that you would bring with you and listen.
Well, what's yours? Since you seem to have thought about this.
This is what idiots like me think about all the time.
I always think about
never a chance in my life that I'm going to be stranded on an island or be Robinson Crusoe. But you always think that because you
never know, though.
You got to have it. You got to have that list ready.
And that's a good movie, by the way. She's got to have it.
Is that Spike Lee?
It is. It was one of the early ones. Do the right thing, and she's got to have it.
Got it.
I think I like Do the Right Thing.
What would be...
Now, you might end up, because you like to go to London, and you do cross the ocean on your little airplane when you do that.
You think I'd get stranded in Greenland?
You may end up getting, well,
I don't
people
think that's going to happen.
Here we go.
I'm going to die if that happens,
Here's the making of a new Netflix series.
Great.
Your plane could actually get diverted to the Caribbean by somebody who doesn't want to go to London.
Seriously? From New York to London, somehow it ends up south in the Caribbean. I don't think so.
Yes, they go into the cockpit and they say to the pilot...
And then I get stranded?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Or perhaps you're like Amelia Earhart, where you learn how to fly on your own.
That's another list I have. Alive or Dead, Amelia Earhart. I don't know.
Whatever happened to, right?
I'm going to say like Abbey Road, maybe, by the Beatles. Or
really not the Rolling Stones? You would do the Beatles.
There's so much Rolling Stones, though. You see, I can't bring it all with me.
Well...
We're making lists of all the things we like.
So that we can get stranded.
Send Olivia to that French restaurant you spoke about last week.
Guy Savoy. Or Guy Savoy, I guess. But Savoy is an IE, so I guess it's Savoy because it's spelled with the Y. Well,
remember
that's
him?
different.
Where was Savoir-Faire?
Passepartout.
He was everywhere.
That's the other one.
Don't you remember that little cartoon? Did they have that in Canada? Savoir-Faire is everywhere. He was a little tiny like mouse, I think.
How cute.
Mouse? Yeah, he was cool. And his name was Savoir-Faire, and he was everywhere.
Favorite
that was
books?
His thing. I don't read.
It's easy.
Sorry.
How about just one?
No,
the
we
Bible.
could do favorite books.
You mentioned the Bible before.
All right. Yes. I've got one with me. No, it's not the Bible.
Back pocket. Or favorite characters?
No. Favorite book, we could do that.
James Bond.
Of all time.
Of all time. Now that's too difficult.
Well, you said favorite book. We're doing lists. What's your favorite book?
I don't know. There are too many. I like funny books.
Same answer. I would say The Little Prince probably, because I think I've read that at every stage in my life. Yeah, child, adolescent, adult, whatever.
Read it in French.
I tried to read it in French. I came close in college, and then I just couldn't do it.
I bet you could do it. I bet you could.
Nah.
I bet you I could read it to you, and you would understand what it was.
You speak to me in English sometimes, and I don't understand what you're talking about. I don't think so. Anyway.
Put it on. You know what that reminds me of?
It's a beautiful little book.
When the Royal Shakespeare Company puts on Shakespearean plays, obviously, they do such a good job of bringing it to life that even though you were to read it, you might not get it. When they put on performances, they're really fabulous. And I think it just elevates the material to a whole new level.
Do you think it's made to be read or made to be acted out? Shakespeare in general.
Oh, acted out, I would think.
I think so too, which makes it all the more amazing that when you just read it and don't think about it dramatically, it's still aming the way he puts it together.
Start doing Shakespearean analysis, it's in high school usually, right? You start with something. You'll do Hamlet or King Lear, one of the big ones. Macbeth, right?
Macbeth,
the witches.
Good one, nice and short, perfect.
Did you ever do drama at any point?
I did. I was like Soldier 4, like, Centurion 5 and Julius Caesar in high school. I remember I was. We had to carry this poor kid. I'll never forget him. He was so cool. He ended up going to college 1 year ahead of me, too. And he was Julius Caesar.
Oh,
yeah, the part where he died.
Dead?
So I was like Soldier 4, so I had to like come out there. And we picked this kid up, and he was so heavy. We dropped him and ended up...
Just dropped him a little bit.
Dropped him and ended up sitting on his face. The laurel wreaths on his head.
What are you saying?
Fell off. No, think about it. You're carrying this stretcher and you slip and you go down in a toga. My friend, actually wasn't me. It was my best friend in high school, Tim.
Best things to do in a toga.
We fell and we knocked his laurel wreath off his head.
How old were you guys?
We were in high
14 years old?
And he would whisper to me every time we were on stage and try and make stuff up to make me laugh so we would lose it on the stage. It was so immature.
Yeah, well,
Whatever.
That's what high school
is all about. That was my acting
about.
career, and it was over.
Guess what? We have to take a quick break because we have to come back and talk a little bit more about your acting career. You're listening to Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Robert Sillic.
And Dr. Olivia Hutchinson.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
This is Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Robert Sillic and Dr. Olivia Hutchinson.
The holidays are usually a time of togetherness and celebration. But COVID-19 will prevent many families from coming together during the holidays, and the situation is even more dire for paralyzed veterans who remain isolated. Paralyzed veterans and others with disabilities are at high risk for COVID and have been quarantined for months. The holidays could worsen their feelings of isolation, depression, and anxiety unless we deliver essential support and remind them they are not forgotten. Paralyzed Veterans of America is a lifeline for high-risk veterans that provides urgent help, food, emergency resources, and a variety of wellness programs to keep veterans connected. Help us spread holiday cheer and let our veterans know they are not alone this holiday season. Join PVA and give holiday hope to our heroes at pva.org/holidayhope.
Plastic Fantastic.
Welcome back to Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Olivia Hutchinson.
And Dr. Robert Sillage. We've managed to pull ourselves together.
We got it going back together.
I just had the visual. You were saying, like, is this better, is Shakespeare better acted out? Of course it's better acted out, because then you can have experiences like you just did.
And it was the 80s, right? And it was the 80s, and so you had a toga.
It's an all-boys school.
All-boys school in a toga. Well, we did have girls' schools that would come and do the acting with us, like the girls' schools in the neighborhood,
so
if there was a female role, right?
Okay. Oh, you didn't just, like, dress up as a girl and do that?
No. You don't play around like that in Catholic school. There's enough bad stuff going on where you don't want to do that. It was the 80s. The other thing about my Shakespeare experience with Julius Caesar was it was in the 80s and everybody had a toga on, but since it was the 80s, remember when topsiders were really big? You know what topsiders are?
Yes, the shoes.
My friend showed up once with a toga on stage.
In tops. Rather than the sandals?
The sandals. And I was like,
more accurate?
That's a great look. Exactly.
The anachronisms? Did you have an Apple Watch on too? No,
you made me laugh. I haven't thought about my acting career in Julius Caesar in ages. Wow.
Yes.
Oh, mighty
Zeus. Go wrong. But they do say that if you're going to make a mistake, make it big on stage.
Oh, I agree with that. Yeah, Go with it. And the other thing my brother used to say, if you slip in front of everybody and it's really embarrassing, stay down and pretend you're unconscious. So people instantly start thinking, oh, he's dead, and they stop laughing at you.
Oh, I see.
But you got to hold the unconscious state till everyone leaves or they get you into an ambulance, which is tough, especially if they're doing CPR on you and you're awake. It hurts.
Yeah, that's...
Anyway, what's our next list?
Paddles?
My God, I'm so crazy. What are we doing here?
Well, the plays in New York. Do you you don't like musicals?
I hate them.
You hate all of them?
All of them.
Okay.
I'm waiting for a Rolling Stones one, and then I'll go see it. Not true. My guilty pleasure in life is Jesus Christ Superstar, by the way.
No.
I see it all the time. Whenever it comes out, yes, I will see that. I love it.
Well, one of my kids' grade school, so they were all under age 14, put that on. So.
I would have seen that. I wish I'd known. I love it. I'm not kidding.
Many years ago.
I think it's great. It's rock and roll. I think the songs are great. I think the album is great. I love it. I even like the movie.
How about hair? I would have thought that you'd be more of a hair person.
Dirty.
That was another. Oh, sexually dirty?
No, they dirty. They all look dirty. They had they were barefoot. Their hair was nasty. They were running around the streets of New York with no shoes on.
I don't really think of you as a hippie.
Gross.
Did you ever have a hippie moment where you grew out your hair and didn't wash it for 16 days?
I might have grown out my hair, but I always washed it.
No, to the hippie level, where you have facial hair and underarms and whatever. There was, speaking of hippies, there was...
You're describing like a Yeti right now.
There's a new show, Nick Cave, that is
I love Nick Cave.
At the Guggenheim. Well, he's got some...
Wait, Nick Cave of the Bad Seeds? Nick Cave?
I don't know. There's a show at the Guggenheim. That's his name, the artist. Does he do both?
Wait a minute. Nick Cave, the Australian rock and roll singer, who's in Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. That guy?
I don't know. It's an artist who's got a show at the Guggenheim. Is he a singer too? You would know more than I do.
Oh, that's interesting.
So he's got some rather strange-looking mannequins that are dressed up in... one of them looks like...
I wonder if it's the same Nick Cave.
Did I put you on the spot?
Would you check the Google for me on that? That's very interesting.
Well, you have your phone. You can look it up.
You keep talking. I'm going to check that out.
I'd never heard of Nick Cave, and this is sort of how it works with
Really?
me.
He's a big 80s guy. It's right up your alley.
Well, I wonder if he then shifted. No. First of all, when you have a name like Nick Cave...
It's a great... like Simon Le Bon. You're not going wrong. You're going to be famous one way or the other. You're either going to kill somebody and be famous,
no.
or you're going to be a famous, entertainer. Totally different Nick Cave, by the way. Spelled
totally
the same.
Different. Okay. Right.
Yeah. This Nick Cave was born in Fulton, Missouri in 1959.
So he's American. All right. Well, I thought, maybe they've gone from... When you're an artiste, shall we just say that you can reinvent yourself in many different ways? Anyway, so he's got some interesting works of art there, and some of them look like they're very hairy. So I was tying it all in with Chewbacca, right?
He's the Wookiee from Star Wars.
The Wookiee, yes. By
the way, the other Nick Cave was born in Australia in 1957.
So they're very close in age.
They're very close in age, and the name is exactly the same.
Okay. Maybe they're related.
Remember the show Peaky Blinders? Did you ever watch that?
Yes, well, now we have a little coffee store
we
right
do,
here.
And he's sponsoring this show, by the way. Did you know?
Sponsoring what show?
Our show, this episode. He's one of our
Peaky
sponsors.
Blinders?
Yeah. Nick
Why did
Cave
you ask me
wrote
about
the soundtrack, the intro, that song that you always hear, Red Right Hand, that's Nick Cave.
Oh, well, he's got a very distinctive voice.
Exactly.
Man.
That's why when you said to me, have you seen Nick Cave's art? And he's very dark. Like, I wouldn't be surprised it was the same Nick Cave. But I was wrong.
Well, we are artists also. So you're a musician, I'm a pianist, and we are also performers in the operating room where we create human body sculptures in different ways.
Enhancing our performance.
Enhancing the patients via our performances.
Excellent.
All right. So museums that you like the best? The Whitney? Omaha?
No, I like the Met.
The Met also?
The best, don't you think?
It's very close to Central Park. Endless. They do a very good job of bringing in lots of different types of artists and trying to do some modern stuff with, again, I'm not like the world's expert on modern art, but it's nice to have centuries of different types of art, all the way from...
You're talking about the one at the Met?
The Met, yeah. But have you been up to the cloisters? Have you ever seen that?
It's beautiful.
Yeah, because that's also tapestries and things.
Depends a little bit on what time of year I think you go, because it's very scenic.
Yeah, I think in the winter is probably kind of blah.
It's a little bleak. Although I guess it
bleak
would
midwinter
tie in with the whole medieval aspect of the cloisters, which were apparently brought here from France, right? Like,
well,
unblock, I think, as we say.
Medieval times, the Middle Ages were sort of a dark time in general.
Right.
They were like
although it gave us mead,
yeah.
Right? Isn't mead some kind of ale?
Is that what had happened?
That didn't make our top 5 cocktail
They literally
list.
had the 100 Years' War. I mean, like...
Right. Think about that. Like, God, give it a rest. Aren't you tired?
There was the 30 Years' War within the 100 Years' War.
That's true.
Like,
what was it? France and England was the 100-Year War.
The Protestants,
right?
the Catholics, they were just going at each other for just like years and years and years. So I'm glad that we're beyond that. How about clothing stores? Where do you go shopping? Well, we know your favorite one is the Japanese one, right?
We talked about Dover Street Market, which is a really cool place, but I got to say, it's all online now.
Yes, but do you actually like to go shopping online, or do you like to go in person?
I like to go in person incredibly anonymously. I'm not one of those people that ever
Without the paparazzi?
No, I don't mean that. I mean without help from anyone. Like I run when I see somebody, I'm like, oh God, I hope they're not working here. I hope that they're another customer. I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to talk to them. Can I help you with
anything?
Just looking? I'm like, oh God. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay. But then again, some people seek it out. It's interesting, the way people feel about shopping. Some people...
How about personal shoppers? Do you ever do that? Where you go to a store?
Are you kidding?
I don't know.
No, you don't do that either.
No, of course
You've got good taste and you know what you like. And come on, at this point...
I don't want to be told.
Please. It's like your apartment, your magnificent new apartment you have. Mm-hmm. You're designing it yourself. You're not going to get an interior designer. You know how to do it.
Well, because I'm so sophisticated.
You are. The problem is you don't get entree to all those little sneaky things that the designers get, but we have ways.
We have our ways. We have our very special ways.
You're able to do that, which is cool.
And I think that you touch on having personal taste. I think that also ties in with our plastic surgery.
Oh my God, I can't get you off this topic of medicine. It's like you're a doctor or something. Tell the listener where they can email us, Dr. Hutchinson. My God.
I've forgotten already.
All right, plasticfantasticshow@gmail.com. You can email the good doctor here who seems to only want to talk about medicine.
But we have our own personal taste when it comes to what we do for our patients, and then turning patients away who have unrealistic expectations or who have different aesthetics, right? I mean, you can't convince somebody that they're going to like something that they don't like, right? But you can elicit whatever their personal tastes are.
And to use a sexist term, I'm going to say that's what separates the men from the boys in this line of work, or I should say the adults from the kids. Maybe that's better.
You're going to offend somebody somehow.
What else is new?
You can't say adults. Maybe you can't say adults because you're going to offend the adults.
No, it's one of those things where, it's like, oh, he didn't offend somebody today. That's usually what they say. It's not like, who did he offend? No, my point about this is you're right, because it's an extremely subtle part of what we do. We're not an empty slate where somebody says, okay, I want you to do this, 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 and make me look like this. And you're like, okay. But then again, you don't put your exact aesthetic on a member of the opposite sex or the same sex, whatever you're attracted to, that you find attractive. It's a combination of the two, which then is therefore the empathic relationship and how it extends to plastic surgery, which is in all medicine. But that's the key in what we do, and that is the hardest thing to define. And, that's the umami of plastic surgery, if you will.
There we go.
You like that,
Because we have
to
bring
see what I did
food.
there?
I love it.
I was trying to get you off the thing and move you back into something exciting.
Well, I was just going to say, to keep it light and kind of tie in lists and plastic surgery.
Go ahead.
Top 5 things you should never say to your patient.
Oh, God, I love this. Great. Number 5. You want me to do what? Okay. Number 4.
There's no way I can make you look better.
Love that. Number 3. Well, you're still ugly. ... That's a good one. God, these are horrible. These are horrible. Okay, the next 2.
I don't like you.
That's number 2. I don't like you. Oh my God. All right, drum roll, please. The number 1 thing
you should never tell your patient.
Tell your patient.
Your patient. I mean, I guess you can turn it around. The number 1 thing you never want your patient to tell you.
Well, this is the number 1 thing you should never tell your patient. In plastic surgery is, I'm going to quote Working Girl, you want a different answer? Ask a different girl. There you go. God, these are also like perfect. The top 5 things you tell people like on your last week in practice. I remember having this in
practice before you retire. Yeah, you mean things that you wish you could have said?
Totally. This joke that I had with a friend of mine, a plastic surgeon, we said, what would be the things you would say if you knew you had like 3 more days to do this? Either you were going to die or retire or whatever. And it was things like, well, you're still ugly and I'm not a magician. I'm just a all these really
That's right.
mean
There's
things.
nothing I can do for you.
Oh my God.
Stop
By the way,
wasting my
there's
time.
always something we can do for you. The question is, we have to make sure we're on the same page because sometimes people have wild, crazy ideas. By the way, some of our colleagues have wild, crazy ideas and they need to be reined in all the time.
That's very true. And now with social media, yours and my favorite topic. You can put anything out there. You can Photoshop it like there's no tomorrow.
Yep.
I think it's funny because just a few minutes ago, you were asking me how to add a photo to another photo and we're both sort of scratching our heads like we have no idea how to
I know.
change
You told me to buy some app. You're like, oh, you need
Photoshop.
Photoshop for that. I'm like, oh, all right.
Don't ask me how to use it because I have no idea. But we are the ultimate in honesty and truth in photographs.
By the way, I just want to say, do you want to know what I was doing when I asked you about how to do that? You would think it was like he wants to download an anatomy thing or he wants to download a paper in Plastic Surgery Journal about how to do something. I was trying to move one of the Planet of the Apes characters into one of the pictures of my band. That literally consumed most of my morning, by the way. That was the erudite questioning that I had for you.
Before we take a break, let me just say that one of the things I figured out is that as stupid as you and I feel sometimes because it takes us so long to do things, the reality is that doing all of those transformations takes a really long time. And that is why you have people who work.
Wait, the Planet of the Apes picture to my band?
Anything. Instagrammers.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
People who just maneuver through social media, photos, put reels on, videos, whatever it is, and then add filters, change the music, put all those little...
Look at how much work our colleagues take making their post-op pictures.
It takes a long time. So that just makes me feel better. It's not just you and I. And that is why you have professionals who do this and who do this for a living. You're listening to Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Robert Sillich.
And Dr. Olivia Hutchinson. We're going to take a quick break and come right back.
This is Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Robert Sillich and Dr. Olivia Hutchinson. More in 60 seconds.
When a child is diagnosed with cancer, the last thing parents should have to worry about is how to pay for it. This is a St. Jude moment.
Calvin got diagnosed June 10th of 2018. He has rhabdomyosarcoma, a soft tissue cancer. One oncologist told us if it was my son, we'd go to St. Jude. And within 24 hours, we were on a plane headed here. It's hard to fathom what St. Jude has done for us. They've really given our family hope. For the donors out there, it's just amazing. I never thought we would be in this place. And it's people like you that help us and help St. Jude provide for a family like ours. St. Jude is like the gold at the end of a rainbow. And we are so grateful and thankful for everything.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Never miss an episode. Download Plastic Fantastic on Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, or wherever major podcasts are found. Simply search Plastic Fantastic. Now, here are board-certified surgeons Dr. Robert Sillich and Dr. Olivia Hutchinson.
Welcome back to Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Olivia Hutchinson.
And Dr. Robert Sillich.
We are at the grand finale
of our 2-part show on lists.
Thank God.
The never-ending lists. You don't want to do movies because we've done that, but I have...
We're going to take a vacation, too. We should tell the listener that we're about to take a break. No, just that we're going to take a break from the show. Holiday break.
So that we can focus on our Christmas lists.
There you go.
When do you make your Christmas lists? Or have you made them already? Or do you even use a list?
I have anxiety.
Do you just go?
I have total list anxiety. I do have lists. This is so bad. I have to remember that I give this to somebody already, especially with my
we have
godchildren.
professional.
Like, what did
also,
I do?
Right? I mean, this is the time when you sort of acknowledge all the professional interactions
kind of
that you have. So you need to keep lists of that and make sure that you don't forget anybody.
But like your loved ones, the close people to you that you know you're going to give a gift to, I have major gift anxiety.
Don't you ask them for their lists so that you can work off of that? They never tell you.
Right. I mean, when was the last time, like,
never, or
your
they'll say
significant
something.
other or whoever, what would you like this year for Christmas? They're not going to tell you.
No, but then they can be
just
upset.
You.
Yeah.
Just a great quiet afternoon with you. You know,
that starts at Thanksgiving, right? When you have everybody around the
totally
family table and you say, "What are you thankful for?" We're just thankful for having each other.
Right. Seriously, I hear you.
Drives me crazy.
Well, I got to give you this. My nieces, they've got lists that are like 3 and 4 pages long in like single spaced. I'm like, wow.
Gotta love the kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're so smart. My oldest niece said to me,
She's
don't
11?
worry about a list. I put it in your Amazon Save It for Later section. I'm like, really?
Yes, see, it's tech savvy stuff.
You're like, yeah, remember when she's 9.
Okay.
Remember when I had your phone?
I know, but they were born with like iPads in their brains or whatever, right? I mean,
she said, remember when I had your phone and I was looking at Amazon, I picked out a lot of stuff I wanted and I put it in your Save It for Later section.
That's pretty impressive.
In the words of the English Beat.
Save It for Later. Yes.
Right?
One of my...
great song. Great band.
Yes. A lot of the British invasion that we can think about.
Second British invasion.
Yes.
The listener might remember
the more modern
first
stuff.
Yeah.
The alternative rock, as they like to say it. Here's something that is going to throw you because you're not going to expect this question in terms of top 5. What are your top 5 fabrics that you like to make your clothes out of or that you like to wear?
Oh, I love this question. By the way,
I bet you didn't know.
Right. Well, don't you remember my famous corduroy is the linen of winter?
Yes. Well,
one of my favorite, favorite.
So
lines
I would
ever.
say linens and corduroy.
So for me, it's the texture thing.
Yeah, which is why I'm surprised that you can buy things online because you can't.
Well, that's
feel
a whole
the
different
fabric
category. Yeah, I know, but if you
by
go with
looking
like
at it.
one of my
like
favorite
Super
things,
1000s or whatever, the wool.
I guess, but that you got to feel because that's usually a big purchase, right? That's usually a suit or something custom. That you got to.
One should hope.
You got to make sure you're there for it. But I think anything that's tactile, corduroy,
everything tactile?
linen, no, not necessarily. Kind of, I guess, flannel. Problem with me is that all the stuff I love makes you incredibly hot. And you know me, I'm always hot. I'm always like fighting with you about the air conditioner. Open the window.
You can have like super fine cotton that's breezy. Linen also, it depends, I guess, how
linen's wonderful.
Light
For some reason, Belgian linen is apparently
cashmere
known.
is you can breathe through.
A little schmear never hurt anybody. I'm with you totally.
Even down
Vicuna.
Yes, very nice. All the alpaca, all the llamas,
that's pretty good.
All the animals that I don't know what they are.
I'm wearing Vicuna underwear right now. Did you know?
Lovely.
Yeah. Hey, at least I remember to wear it.
Thank you. Thank
remember
you for
last
sharing.
Week's show? You're welcome.
Yes.
There's a type of cotton called khadi, Khadi, that is spectacular. I think it's Indian and it's really nice.
I've never heard of that. See, you learn a new thing every day.
There you go.
Well, down also,
God, that's a great question, Olivia. How about you?
I knew that you were
You're well
silk.
put together.
You
like silk.
I love silk. Scarves, underwear, shirts, blouses.
You know that line from Year of the Cat? She comes out of the sun running like a silk dress.
I do not know that line. I think
she comes out of the sun running in a silk dress like a watercolor in the rain. That a great line?
Nice. I do like that.
Year of the Cat, Al Stewart.
Watercolor
she
in the rain.
comes out of the sun running in a silk dress like a watercolor in the rain.
Okay, but the watercolor is going to fade.
The Year of the Cat.
Well, I think it's in Casablanca is what he's talking about. He's talking about someplace in exotic and it's hot. And she's running.
Exotic places that you may have or have not.
Now you're just getting crazy. Okay, exotic places. Go ahead.
Galapagos.
What's your number one? No, it's too erudite. I want a beach with a martini and a pack of cigarettes. I don't want to look at a turtle or Easter Island. I want to
Easter Island.
Right? Isn't that where the Galapagos are? Isn't that Easter Island? Isn't that the same thing? Those big heads? I'm just kidding. I'm just joking with you.
There are. I mean,
you'd be one of those
Tahiti,
people if you had the Quan. You'd basically go to space with Shatner and Bezos.
I don't know
you?
if I want to go into.
I don't want to go.
I do like to see the.
Do they have business class?
Listen, I think it's just one class. It's the keep your fingers crossed that you come back to Earth. Which
Yeah.
Are we really there yet?
Right.
Apparently, they're working on getting to Mars. Talk about exotic places. Mars.
Who's got the time?
Well, maybe
talk about the 100-year war. Doesn't it take a long time to get to Mars?
And then you age, which is the first reason that you don't want to go.
Everybody saw those movies where you come out of the time capsule and the guy's got the beard.
Yeah. So favorite sci-fi? It's got to be Shatner, right? I mean, you're in the Star
sci-fi
Trek.
Character?
No, it's just sci-fi episodes or
hold on now.
Fantasy
Wait a minute
things.
now. Wait a minute.
Creations.
Now you're really pushing it.
How about Dune? You like Dune?
You know, I hated the first one. Never read the book.
Star Wars?
Natch. But the current reboot of Dune, I think, is spectacular. Gotta say, I loved it.
Aren't they working on a second one too?
Yeah.
Okay.
I loved it. Didn't you like it?
I watched the first one, and I think I told you I saw it in the
You loved it.
movie theater, having never read any of the books and having no idea what we were going to watch. And I went with my sister, and we cracked ourselves up throughout and made a lot of enemies in the Doonies.
Oh, that's not cool. You don't want to mess with a nerd, especially if they're all fired up to see something.
Do you call
like
them
Dune.
Doonies? Like you call them Trekkies?
Trekkies?
Yeah.
I don't know. Neither. I just saw the new one, and I was like, all right. I was on a plane, of all places, which I know you shouldn't see Dune on because it's a little screen.
Yeah, even on a big screen, it's pretty funny.
I was mesmerized.
The guy like riding the serpent or whatever it was, that was the most
Well, that was
hysterical.
the 80s. I think it was David Lynch did that, and I think
Whatever.
it was like
Whoever did
weird
it.
looking.
It was
the
really
effects were
funny.
lousy. I know.
I mean, you were talking about Keanu Reeves the other day about didn't do a good job in Dangerous because he was Bill and Ted's Excellent. Okay,
Right.
so it was the same sort of thing. I mean, when you
should see the new one then. I'm telling you, you would
All
like
right.
it.
I'm going to add that to my
the current one.
never-ending list.
It's good.
How about never-ending lists? How about that? My to-do
Oh my
list.
God.
That's a never-ending list right there.
That's true. But you know, if you make a list in the morning and you get to some of it, you're happy.
How about you just get to one thing? Isn't that enough?
It's a good day.
I think
Did
that's
something.
That's some of it, right?
Well, making your bed, right?
There was a book written by
Yes, the Navy
an
SEAL.
Navy? What was he?
McRaven, Admiral
Yes.
McRaven.
Yes,
It's a
excuse
great
me.
book. I bought it for my
Admiral.
nieces. It's also an adult.
He spoke at a.
Have you
that was
seen
based
that
on yes.
YouTube? Oh
Yes.
boy, is that great!
Yeah. How to motivate.
Why it's
kids.
important to make your bed every day.
Things starts off with that, and the book, by the way, is very tiny. It's very short, but I think it was based on that speech, and then he wrote more about
Navy
it.
SEALs,
so.
right?
Yeah, which is kind of what my routine is every morning.
You're a bit of a Navy SEAL.
I wake up at 4:00.
Exactly.
I roll around in some salt water and
Sugar cookie, right? That's what he called it. Remember that?
we live by the ocean.
I got it. You do your 2,000 sit-ups and push-ups.
Yes, and I do my 16-mile swim.
Cold swim, right? Come back before dawn to have raw eggs for breakfast.
That's right. If
Then
you're
you go
lucky.
and then you go to work.
And then I show up here.
It's amazing.
It does put you in a good mood, though. I'm
beautiful.
sure if you did that. You could probably do that off your desert island, too.
Like Desert Island, which you said is going to be in the middle of the
With your-
Atlantic on my way to London.
with your-
It's going to be pretty cold.
Whiskey.
I'm not going to last very
Your
long.
whiskey and your cigar. Every morning before you start work,
Right?
have
I
a
think
whiskey and a
Winston
cigar.
Churchill probably had a whiskey and a cigar every morning.
Now, he has some really great speeches, things to listen to.
Absolutely.
There are some recordings of that, and I have them. You know, once you listen to somebody's voice live or recorded, but, you know, their actual voice, and you're reading things that they wrote, don't you
hear
sort of
it.
imagine it
That's
in your
great.
head?
He had a significant speech impediment, Winston Churchill, too.
Like the king?
Not that bad.
Did he overcome it?
He
with
stuttered and
practice, or-
stammered. He did, but you can almost hear it a little bit. It's a lisp, really, is what it is. He's got some kind of he's got a type of lisp. Winston Churchill had
Well,
a type of lisp.
he had some pretty amazing speeches. So.
Pretty amazing guy.
Way back when people actually did listen to the radio and it wasn't just a 140 character. What's happening with Twitter? Are we going to go back to Twitter as the
Never
source
on
of
it, never
everything?
seen it. What's Twitter?
The chief twit? I think Elon Musk changed his handle or whatever the description
I
is.
think it's, I don't know. I think that was a gamble that worked out for him.
Well, I think it's very important to have places where people can express their opinions. I mean, there are restrictions on what
Put
you
it
can
this
say.
way.
You can't have hate speech.
No one's leaving it. Everyone's complaining about him, that how can one man control so much, blah,
Well,
blah,
the only
blah.
people who left were all the people who were working at the place, right?
Right,
So
but people who have Twitter, they call them handles, they're all still...
that's the at, right? At whatever.
Yeah.
That's whatever your name is.
People didn't leave in droves like they said they would. Nobody left. Just like when Trump was elected,
Everybody
people
has
didn't move to
something to
Canada.
say.
When Obama was elected, people didn't move to Canada. Everybody still stayed.
Well, some people moved, but I think it was a very small number people moving. So, and anyway, people move everywhere all the time.
By the
They
time
move
you
around.
list your house, get it together, call the movers, there's another election. Don't worry about it. Just stay put.
No, I'm sorry. We can't talk about politics right now. We just
No, we're not.
finished
That's
all
why I
this
mentioned
stuff.
both
Okay.
polarizing presidents. See what I did there?
Yes, because we hate everyone equally.
Right, exactly. Commanding the respect of no one.
That's right.
Exactly.
We have things to say and constructive criticism about everyone. Did you ever think that you might run for
Never.
politics? We have some doctors in those fields.
We do.
Not plastic surgeons. Actually, we have plastic surgeons. Isn't there a plastic surgeon who's also a
congressman somewhere?
Somewhere in the South or something. It's hard to do both at the same time.
Yeah, who would want to do that?
Well, we had Mehmet Oz run, so, he's not a
That's
plastic surgeon, but he's a cardiac surgeon.
True.
The types of things that you have to put up with, I would imagine.
Totally.
Having never been there. I do like that show Veep, talk about
That's a funny show.
parodies.
But I was going to say, just this show alone, the amount of offensive things I've said will prevent me from ever. I mean, imagine Exhibit A, the list show part 1, you said, come on. There's no way I'm ever going to be in politics or any kind of public life after this.
No, we have too many things to say that we can't bite our tongues about. So,
right.
Although we
Plus, unlike you, I'm getting old. I'm getting too old for office.
What was it, Benjamin Button, the guy who...
That ain't me.
Wasn't that the
Babe,
movie?
In the words of Bob Dylan. Yeah, Benjamin Button. That's a good movie.
Because he got old or he didn't get old? Or he got younger when other people... What was the story?
He physically got younger as he aged.
Okay. Oh, so it was like a reverse
And they picked
thing.
Brad Pitt, so yeah, it was cool. Yeah, when it ends, he's a child. He's a baby.
No, I didn't see that movie. And I like to see entertaining. Yeah, see,
it's entertaining, but it hurts your brain a little bit.
Yeah, I don't need that. I need to protect my brain.
I agree.
Need to find funny things
It's kind of like
to watch.
The Matrix. By the time you get to the third or fourth sequel, it hurts your brain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's a whole
But John
alternative.
Wick? How about if you just watch
Wick
one John
is
Wick?
so simple. That's why it's so good. It's a chase scene from the first minute to the last.
I
That's
love it.
all it is. It's so easy.
Don't you feel that sometimes after a long day at the
Yeah.
office, you just want
I want to watch Keanu
veg
Reeves
out?
on a horse on the 59th Street Bridge with a machine gun being chased by Russian mob guys. And I'm going to just sit there and watch it over and over
Well,
and
guess
over.
what? Because we've come to
Is
that
it
moment.
time
It's the moment
for me to go watch John Wick?
Watch John Wick
Oh, thank
on
you.
the comfort of your couch.
Don't you love that?
With your whiskey and
There
your
we go.
cigar or whatever makes you happy.
Bring it.
And we're going to actually acknowledge the fact that our listeners have been with us.
Thank you.
Throughout. Good luck with your to-do lists. If you have any suggestions, any comments, you'd like to send us an email, please do so, plasticfantasticshow@gmail.com. We're closing up on the holiday.
Is this it? Are we going to see people in the new year, or do we have one more? I don't know.
Well,
I don't know
we
where
may
it
or
lies.
we may not come back because it's very close to that holiday shopping frenzy. So
I got all excited that this might be the swan song.
no. Anyway, it's going to drop like a hot potato and nobody's going to know when it actually happens. So thank you, Dr. Silich.
Thank you, Dr. Hutchinson.
And thank you to our listeners. And thank you for listening.
You've been listening to Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Robert Silich and Dr. Olivia Hutchinson. Produced by Mike Scheck. This is Bill Eugene speaking. Got a question? Email plasticfantasticshow@gmail.com. And be sure to listen right here every week for another episode of Plastic Fantastic with Dr. Robert Silich and Dr. Olivia Hutchinson.